Hi, I'm Kusha and I'm the creator of the BFR bands. And before we get started with this video, I just want to go over some tips as it applies to BFR training. So with BFR training, a couple things I want you to be aware of is number one, what you're trying to do, the goal is to slow blood flow away from the limbs. So you have arteries that carry blood flow in. Arteries are a little bit deeper. So if you apply too much pressure, or if the strap you're using is too narrow and you apply too much pressure, like some of the things I've seen out there, then you could more likely occlude the arterial blood flow, which is what you don't want. The superficial venous blood flow, which are more close to the surface, that's what superficial means. The venous blood return is what carries the blood out of the limbs, out of the arms or legs. So when you're doing BFR training, the goal is really to only apply the right amount of pressure for the venous occlusion. So you're slowing the blood flow from leaving the limbs. So that's why what I always recommend is when you're tightening your bands, you want to make sure that you start, if we're talking about a qualitative scale of a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being tightest, you want to start at about a 5 to a 7. And I almost recommend starting a little bit less than you think. A lot of people actually over tighten, in my opinion, in the beginning, not realizing that anytime you do any strength training, you're actually doing occlusion training. You're occluding blood flow internally anytime you get a pump. So I recommend going a little bit less tight than you think, maybe a number 5 on a scale of 1 to 10, and then do a high volume warm up. Use very lightweight or bands, and you want to do a lot of repetitions, 20, 30 reps or more, and you want to do a lot of sets, 4 to 6 sets or more, with short rest periods, maybe 20 seconds of rest in between sets. And what you'll find is that after you finish that warm up, you'll go from being a 5 to about a 7, so you'll be at optimal pressure. Another thing I highly recommend is just checking throughout the workout, putting your thumb into the palm of the hand, and just looking at how fast the color refills. Optimal pressure, they say, is usually about a 2 to 3 seconds in refill time. If it's less than 2 seconds, that probably means that it's too loose, and if it's more than 3 seconds, that means it's probably too tight. And if at any time you have any numbness, tingling, any pain whatsoever, take the bands off or loosen them because they're most likely too tight. Another misconception is that you should be wearing the bands closer to the joint if, for example, you're training forearms or calves. It's a big misconception. You actually don't need to do that, and you don't want to do that. There's a lot of nerves near the elbow and near the knee, and you don't want to put pressure on those nerves, so it's not necessary. The other thing about BFR training, the great thing about it is that it has a systemic effect. And what that means is that when you wear them on the upper arms, for example, even if you train chest and back, you're getting a benefit for chest and back. A lot of people think that it's really just for arms or quads, whatever muscle is closest to where you're actually putting the strap. It's not true. It has a systemic effect. So it's tapping into your brain, which makes changes throughout the body, as well as making changes in your biochemistry in the blood flow. So just remember, it's not just for biceps and triceps, it's not just for quads and glutes. It actually does have a big benefit for forearms and grip and calves, even when you wear it at the top of the thighs or at the top of the arms. So now let's talk about your specific bands. Now these are your Pro Slim Edition BFR bands. Now I just want to first talk about a few of the differences about this particular band. So this band is 1 inch wide, which I know a lot of people like because it fits right in that crevice between the deltoid and the biceps. And a few other things I want to talk about is the material is much, much thicker than any of our other elastic materials. Really, really thick, which I wanted to do because I know that this is a little bit more narrower, so having that nice comfortable thickness will help just make it a little bit more efficient. Also, we added a marking system so you can track your pressure and train with more accuracy and symmetry. So you can train with symmetry from side to side. We add an elastic loop to hold the slack in place so you can tuck the slack. We have a nice, really, really nice premium metal buckle that's just really, really heavy duty, really durable, really strong, holds it in place perfectly. But also the metal itself has a nice plating on it that prevents rusting and any kind of damage to the metal, as well as we put a nice plastic coating on it so that way you don't have this weird kind of metal on the skin, and also helps kind of prevent any chance of pinching, so that's kind of nice too. And the plastic's really comfortable and smooth. So the way you would use this, really easy, you literally just slide it on your arm. It comes exactly like this, already pre-looped, ready to go. You just slide it on your arm. You want the actual buckle to be facing away from you, away from the body. So if you're talking about the button should be pointing away, and the strap should be pointing towards the midline of the body. That's how you know it's going in the right direction. And so what you're doing is you're just basically pushing the button while you're holding the strap. You're pushing the button and you're just moving it in. You don't need to make it too tight again. You want to make sure that you have it at a comfortable tightness, because again, you're going to gain the appropriate tightness. The optimal pressure will come from the warm-up from getting that pump from the warm-up. You're gonna get internal occlusion. So make sure not to over tighten, start a little bit less than you think, and that's it. You can adjust it to the right location that you want, wherever you feel most comfortable, and then you can tuck the slack and you're ready to go. So it's easy as that. When you're done, you just literally push the button and you can just loosen it up and you can slide it right off. Simple as that. So really easy, really versatile. You can take this anywhere, and I think you're really gonna enjoy the new Pro Slim Edition BFR bands. Thanks again.